Welcome to Transit Unplugged, the podcast where we ride along with the boldest leaders moving people and ideas across the globe. I'm your host, Paul Comfort, and in this episode, we're hitting the road, literally, with one of Transit's top leaders, Dwight Ferrell, General Manager of SMART. That's the Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation in Southeast Michigan. On my recent trip to Detroit, I hopped on a SMART bus with Dwight to talk about how Detroit and its surrounding communities are flipping the script on regional mobility. We dig into everything from game-changing microtransit programs to how they're keeping their workforce engaged and what the future holds for a system covering more than 2,100 square miles. Dwight's got vision, strategy, and a deep love for this region, and you'll hear how SMART is stepping up to meet the evolving needs of riders across Southeast Michigan. And hey, what better way to wrap up a transit tour than with a hot, crunchy slice of Detroit-style pizza? We'll do it today. So if you're into real talk about innovation, leadership, and making transit work for everyone, this is the episode for you. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and leave us a quick review. It helps others discover these inspiring stories from transit leaders around the world. Now let's hop on board with Dwight Ferrell on Transit Unplugged from Detroit. Great to have you with us today on Transit Unplugged. Excited to be in Detroit, Motor City, with our friend Dwight Ferrell. Dwight, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, and welcome to Southeast Michigan.
Thank you. I love it. I've learned a lot already. Been here a day, and I know it sounds silly, but I didn't really realize how close Canada was, just across the river.
As they say, a stone's throw across the river. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, a beautiful city in a real period of resurgence here.
Absolutely. The city of Detroit, its comeback has been amazing. The region is growing. So, yes, it is really a nice place to work, a nice place to live.
Now, you and I have been friends for a long time. You've been a yeoman working around the industry. You and I were just talking to Rod Jones, my boss, about that. Tell us some about your background and what brought you here.
Well, I started my career in Dallas a long, long time ago as a bus operator. And I've worked in 7 cities, 8 presidencies since I started my career. And in doing so, I've seen a lot of stuff and done a lot of things. And I think that experience for all those years positions me to help transit in Southeast Michigan, positions me to help it grow.
And it's very interesting and unique, I think, that you started out as a driver and worked your way up. There's very few people I know in the industry that have done that. I mean, Dottie down in Austin and a few of them, but how has that helped you think, in and kind of starting right at the front lines of what we do?
Well, it certainly helps. It has helped us in terms of recruitment. We are fully staffed on bus operators in the first time in quite a long time. And a large part was because of the experience that I had when I drove and recognizing the changes that employees expect today help with that. So we negotiated some rule changes in our recent union contracts that have really helped us attract and retain talent. And I think that experience as a bus operator has certainly helped. I'll also say that I remember when we weren't involved in decisions about equipment, seats, a lot of those different things, coming up. We got what we got.
Right.
And so now I make sure that our mechanics are involved in decisions that impact them, bus operators are involved in what impacts them. I'll give you an example. When I first got here, I asked supervisors what kind of vehicles they wanted. They said they wanted something bigger. Well, we have Tahoes on order. And so those are the kinds of things that, having done some of those positions along the way, have helped me in terms of listening and engaging and basically creating an environment that people want to work in.
You mentioned vehicles. I might mention that we're recording this live in a vehicle. Tell us about the vehicle and what service this is.
This is Flex. Flex is our microtransit service that this year carried its 1 millionth passenger.
Wow.
Which is pretty extensive. In the time that I've been here, I think we've tripled the fleet over the last 4 years. So the demand on it has been amazing. The growth in ridership here outstrips everything else that we have. And one of the great things about it is post-pandemic centric.
Okay.
In that we'll talk about our smarter mobility program later, but in that we're looking at what travel patterns are now. And most people are not going more than 5 or 6 miles away from where they live. And so these big AM and PM rushes like we used to have, those are gone. And so microtransit like this allows us to be able to provide independence for people who can't drive, don't want to drive, and particularly provides access to people who are disabled but don't live within 3/4 of a mile of a bus route. So now they even have independence.
So you have a whole zone wider than traditional ADA.
Absolutely.
That's great. And we're in a, what is this, a Chrysler minivan?
This is a Chrysler minivan. This service, we contract with a company called VIA. It's a turnkey solution. They provide the vehicles, the drivers, the software, and what have you. And it's been great.
And how does this fit into the overall potpourri of offerings that Smart Transit offers?
Well, we have some limited stop service that we have. Of course, we got local service. But our service overall, we're reviewing right now to have that service mirror what people want today.
That's wonderful.
So the question is about frequency and span and even equipment. So ultimately, our fleet will be more diverse in terms of size. Everything's not going to be a 40-foot bus because everything doesn't require a 40-foot bus. So all of that has been part of our smarter mobility assessment. And the important thing about that is that we don't do anything in a vacuum. And so with smarter mobility, we talk to elected officials at every level, the federal level, the state level, the local level, key stakeholder groups, citizens, to get their input in terms of what the service needs to look like. The challenge that we face is that, unfortunately, we have people who want more service than what we have money to provide.
Right.
So that's a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah. So Detroit itself has, as I understand it, basically 3 different transportation providers. The RTA, right, operates the Q line, and they provide funding, kind of like in Chicago, the RTA does, to the other operations. And then you've got SMART, you guys, and then DDOT in downtown city. Now, I know you're going to correct me there, but that's why I said that's how I understand it. You set the record straight here.
So the RTA handles the formula funds, our 5307 allocation between DDOT and us. They also oversee the 5310 program, which we have an extensive 5310 program with well over 300 vehicles and probably over 100 community partners that operate those vehicles.
Wow, that's great.
But we are funded by a property tax that is assessed in Oakland County, Macomb County, and portions of Wayne County.
Like a millage rate?
Like a millage rate, that's correct. We don't provide, or we do not tax in the city of Detroit.
Okay.
DDOT is funded through the city's general fund.
I got you.
So, and then the RTA, who recently became the operator of the Q line, gets some operating funding from the state. Now, we get some operating funding from the state too, but the RTA does not give us money. Except for that is
just their
5310.
Right, just the formula funding that's yours anyway.
Right.
They serve like an MPO or something?
Exactly.
Okay, I got you.
And then the 5310.
Gotcha, very good. And tell us about your staff and how many staff you have, your services, vehicles, all that.
We have close to 1,000 employees right now. As I mentioned earlier, we are fully staffed on bus operators, so we've slowed our hiring down, but we're never going to stop.
Right.
We have, in the time that I've been here, we've got a contracts and procurement department, safety department. We're about to bring online our program management department. We've got a strategic initiative department that we just started. It is going to help us with our strategic planning and all of that. We are changing our focus from HR to talent management as it relates to our staff.
I like that.
And one of the things that I would note is one of the things I've learned over the years. When I came here, I made some observations, and there were some things that I wanted to change. There were people who were in leadership positions who chose to leave. And so from my original executive staff, I have 2 left.
Wow.
But everybody who is here, I promoted in this organization. The only person that I brought from the outside, and technically she's really not from the outside, is Tiffany Gunter, our Deputy General Manager and Chief Operating Officer.
And you're welcome for me introducing her to you.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Many years ago.
That's right.
And so Tiffany is from this area. She at one point worked at the RTA. She was deputy at the RTA. She was deputy at the MPO. And I set my sights on hiring Tiffany as soon as I got here. Took me a minute, but
bring her back home. Right?
So the idea is that when you bring in a lot of different people from the outside, they all bring in their different perspectives, and you have to try to mesh those.
That's right.
That's just way too much work. That's way too much work when you have a big task ahead of you. And so the other thing it does is it creates an environment where people see that we can grow, that we're appreciated. And at the end of the day, that's what we do. If we don't have employees who believe in what we do and engage in what we do, we're not going to be able to put out the product that the citizens expect from us to do. It's just that simple.
So you mentioned you've got your new strategic plan you're working on, and you have something called Smarter Mobility. You want to talk about that and why it's a game changer?
Right. I mentioned that in the earlier piece when I was talking about all the outreach that we've done to get customer input about what service needs to look like in the future. And that service is not going to be AM, PM peaks coming into downtown. It's going to be a lot more microtransit, a lot more crosstown service. And the challenge that we have, quite frankly, with the funding limitations that we have, is a question of span or frequency.
You're right. Oh, that's the classic one, isn't it, man?
That's always.
Started in Houston, right?
Yes. It's either you're going to have a span of service that's infrequent, or you're going to have a shorter window that is less frequent. Now, the thing about microtransit, I think, that helps us is the cost to provide that service is a lot less than a lot of 40-foot buses.
Yeah. It's funny, some people think microtransit is more expensive, but when you do the math and you compare it, if there's an area that doesn't really warrant a 40-foot bus, you can send in a minivan like this, pick up 6 people in a day. It's a lot cheaper, isn't it?
It's a lot cheaper. The capital cost is a lot cheaper. The operating costs are a lot cheaper. And quite frankly, you don't have to have people who have to have a CDL in order to be able to provide the service, which makes it easier to be able to recruit.
Yeah.
So those are all things that work in our favor. And we want to be smarter at smart, in that transit and customer expectations and employee expectations are not the same as they were when I started 8 presidencies ago. And I'll let you guys do the math on that. And so now it is very much about how service impacts your life, the quality of your life. And it's not about those people. It's about everybody. And recognizing that the next generation, the generation that is ultimately going to be paying for this, Generation X, Millennial, and Z, they have a completely different approach to transit than their parents and grandparents. And that's the thing that we are trying to take advantage of, to provide service that works for them.
So it sounds like you're pushing for a more connected regional transit system. And what's been your biggest challenge there?
Changing minds. Changing people's thought process, which is a challenge for transit everywhere, not just in Southeast Michigan. Getting people to see that if you want your region to grow, if you want to attract talent, attract jobs, you must invest in multimodal transit. You can't do it by just buses or buses and microtransit. So one of the wonderful things about this area is that obviously it was built for the automobile. So you have very wide streets and these boulevards with wonderful medians that would be great for fixed guideway BRT that doesn't cost nearly as much as rail, that would be able to connect the region. And so the other thing is, quite frankly, is getting people to see a different future. I don't know that we have done that as well as we could have. And so that's what we're trying to talk about now, is not what's going to be good a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. What about 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road? And then getting people to see the importance of a sustainable funding model.
Yeah, that's good.
That really is the key. And this is all great, but if you don't have any cash, it's just a great idea.
So I'm driving here. I was fascinated to see, we just drove past the Henry Ford Center with all the flags out there, and I thought about, the guys that started this town really booming right back when the automotive industry came here. But now you have a whole new economic development engine, and I know public transportation is involved in that, attracting talent and employers to Michigan. Tell us about that.
The state, and Southeast Michigan in particular, wants to diversify its economy, so it's not so heavily reliant on just manufacturing. There are a number of aerospace jobs that are in Macomb County, for example. And one of the things that I'd like to make sure that we're clear on is that there is no conflict between automobile manufacturers and transit. They're supportive of what we're trying to do because they recognize that some of their future employees don't necessarily want to own cars.
Right.
So that's a big shift, if you will. So I think, quite frankly, that Michigan, Southeast Michigan, the state as a whole, is on the upside. We are trying to compete with other states in the Midwest for jobs, whether that be Ohio, Indiana, or whoever it is. And so that's the piece where transit comes in. And that's where we come in at SMART, is making sure that we communicate that, because we look at the region in its totality, not just, even though we don't operate in it, we do provide some service into Detroit. And even though that's not our primary focus, we do know that 2/3 of the customers who ride DDOT transfer to SMART every day. And so they're going to jobs.
Yeah.
So us connecting the region is absolutely essential.
Now, we just pulled into the John Dingell Transit Center. Tell us about this.
Isn't it beautiful?
It is. I love it.
So obviously this is a place where we do transfers and that sort of thing. Passenger rail is here as well. And so hopefully you can, let's see.
Oh, look, is this an Amtrak station too?
It is.
Wow, that's great. Nice intermodalism.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And so, as you can see, there's a lot of vibrancy around here. There's a lot of development around here.
Yeah.
So this is today. What it could look like in the future, very different. It would be great if we could share a track with Amtrak to be able to connect Southeast Michigan to Lansing or wherever.
That's wonderful.
But again, it all goes back to one basic thing: cash.
There you go. Well, we're going to hop out of the vehicle and we'll come back and talk to you a few more minutes after this. Hey, Transit Unplugged listeners. This is Paul Comfort. Something big is coming. Transit Unplugged has grown in ways we've never imagined, from in-depth conversations with top transit leaders to award-winning travel videos reaching audiences of millions around the world. We've been on an incredible journey together. Now it's time for the next chapter, a fresh look, a bold new vision. But don't worry, our mission stays the same: to inspire with meaningful stories, to spark industry conversations, and showcase the best in public transportation and mobility. This rebrand represents our growth, fresh energy, and our commitment to you, our listeners and viewers. The countdown starts now. Stay tuned and let us know what's been your favorite Transit Unplugged moment.
Okay.
All right, now we're back with Dwight Ferrell, who's the head of SMART. Now we're downtown at the Rosa Parks Transit Center. Tell our listeners a little bit about what's going on down here when it comes to resurgence of the city.
Well, over to my left, and anybody who wants to Google this can, it's the Weston Book Cadillac. So that building is celebrated its 100th year last year. For a number of years, it was not used. And they have redeveloped this into a 4-star hotel. The President of the United States stays here, or anybody who was running for president in the NFL draft that we had last year. All of the draft picks were at this hotel.
Okay.
So it is the spot to be, and it's mixed use because there are condos on floors 24 through 30. And so that's more.
And it's served right here by transit in the middle of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the express bus that the RTA runs starts right there.
Is that right?
This is the Book Tower, which is across the street. This has come online within the last year. These are high-end apartments.
Okay.
If you get a chance while you're here, Washington Boulevard, which is a block over from here, has been completely redone. And so downtown, you can live, you can work, you can play. There are tons of restaurants in downtown Detroit. And it's not just Detroit, but Southeast Michigan as a whole.
Yeah.
But the perception that people have that, Detroit is some, third world country, that is simply not true.
All right, so now we're in your famous Buddy's Pizza. What are we going to get here?
We're going to get some good pizzas, what we're going to do to warm us up on this nice, brisk spring day.
There you go. All right, I'm gonna ask my boss here, Rod. So Rod Jones is here with us. First time he's been with us on a video shoot. Thank you for coming, Rod. You've eaten this pizza before, right? What am I expecting here now? I hear it's deep dish and crusty.
It is. I mean, I don't know how much I want to disclose before you taste.
Okay, all right.
But there are some purists who have a hard time with Detroit style. So
really,
yeah. So
why is that?
Well, I think Chicago feels a certain way about their own deep dish.
Oh yeah.
We're different. I'm a big fan of it. And actually, this is my first time in this location. I spent more time in Southfield's Buddy location, so it's pretty cool.
All right, I can't wait. We're going to come back after we taste it. We'll all give our reviews. So, okay, Dwight, this is great. One thing that's cool, we haven't really said it on the podcast here, is how we're right down near where your sports stadiums are. Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah, Detroit is unique in that you can walk to the football stadium, the baseball stadium, and the basketball hockey arena. They're within 3 blocks. They're within 3 blocks of one another.
It's amazing.
It's absolutely. The baseball stadium and the football stadium are literally across the street from each other.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Not the freeway, the street.
So you serve a large area, Smart does. And talk to us about that and how you make sure that your services are aligned with the real needs of the whole community, right here from Detroit all the way out to Macomb.
So we serve a 2,100 square mile area.
That's massive.
Yes, that is. It is 500 square miles larger than DC's system. So our focus really is not so much about meeting the needs of today, but meeting the needs of the future. And with that, in order to be able to do that, that's going to require sustainable funding that allows for us to be able to take advantage of all the technology that's out there. It makes it easier for people to be able to switch between systems. So we're doing some of that now. Even right now, we have a joint agreement with Detroit Department of Transportation, DDOT, for transferring between one system to the other one.
Okay.
And same thing with the
Q line?
Q line.
Yeah.
So
which is like a streetcar, right?
It's a streetcar.
Yeah.
So we're just going to build on that.
The last thing I want to talk to you is a little bit more, which I really love what you do. You and I are both people-focused, and you're known for engaging your team with gold stars and a culture of appreciation. We saw that today. We got on your articulated bus, 60-foot long, with photos of all your employees, their names, and how many years they've worked at your agency. I've never seen that before. What a wonderful tribute to your employees. Tell us about how important internal morale is to external service.
Employees make the difference. They provide the service. They do the work. And so if they're not engaged, then we don't have a good product. They are the product. So the Gold Star started about, if you think back to when you were a kid, how you want to have a gold star.
That's right. I remember when I took piano lessons, she would give me a gold star in my book when I played good. And it's crazy, but it made me feel good.
Well, you'd be surprised at what it does to adults.
Yeah.
And so that's how I came up with the gold star. So we have gold star pins. They've got the Smart logo on them. And there was a book, The 1 Minute Manager, back in the 90s.
I remember that, yeah.
And so that book was talking about management by walking around. And most of the time, people are walking around looking for something wrong. I walk around looking for something right. And so those gold stars are those 1 minute rewards. It makes a difference. And if you'll note that on the side of the bus, one of our employees who has 44 years of service has 3. He's
a 3-star general.
Wants to do something so he can get 4. He is absolutely. And that engagement, you can tell by just being in the environment where there's much more conversation between hourly employees and staff. When I go to the facilities, they say, "Hey, Dwight, how you doing?" or Mr. Ferrell, or whatever the case may be. So they know who I am, I know who they are, and it makes a difference.
That's wonderful. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
Smart's a great place to work, and Smart's on the move.
All right. So we're back just as a little coda to the podcast. We all just had the pizza, and I'm going to tell you, it's fantastic. I should have recorded that guy when he was saying what it was about. What struck you the most, Rod, about the pizza? You've been eating it for many years.
Well, first off, I don't get a chance to dine here all that often, so it was a nice reminder. The cheese, the texture. I had the Detroiter, so for those of you who are trying it for the first time, you got to do the Detroiter at Buddy's Pizza. So I loved it. I had a great time.
Yeah. What they press the dough daily, fresh. They make it here. It's deeper dish. It's crusty, and it's got a delicious flavor. So fantastic. I give it 5 stars. Do you?
Yeah. No, 6 stars. 6 stars out of 5.
There you go. All right, now you know.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Transit Unplugged podcast. We're so glad you're here. My name is Julie Gates. I'm the executive producer of the show. And our goal is to create programs that promote the great things going on in the transit industry by providing you with behind-the-scenes access with industry executive leadership so we can work together to find innovative industry solutions. We would love to have you be a part of the Transit Unplugged community by having you sign up for our newsletter. Head to the show notes to find the link. Thanks for listening to Transit Unplugged with Paul Comfort, our favorite transit evangelist. And we'll catch you next week. Thanks for tuning in.